there's this code where, a future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. So if you're living in San Francisco, you can take a Waymo from one place to another,
Interesting.
right?
Yeah.
It's almost magical. But for someone
Hmm.
who's like an average San Francisco person, it's no longer like cool, right? Hey, it just happens.
Hmm.
Okay, you have a thing driving on actual streets without a human. And for anyone who's not here, like anyone who's not where Waymo is, for them it's like a huge deal. We had our demo day in March, and like at that time, at the demo day, I remember like when people were just emailing me to give me money. So I was like, there was like one phone call where I was literally in tears. Someone just closed like $25,000 over a phone call. I did not know this person. Um, yeah, so it was very different kind of an experience. So our pitch was we build beautiful furniture using robots. And
Okay.
this basically it was a CNC machine, which is again a robot, a different looking robot. Everything is great about a Tesla, but I think the thing which like it can drive itself, that
Yeah.
is just amazing. Like it can take me from my home to my office
Hmm.
without me touching the steering wheel, and I can just be doing anything else.
So it
So
happens right now. Like you do that on a daily basis.
yes, like 70% of my driving is now like done by FSD. It's like full self driving, and I did travel to like LA from San Francisco back in like last May, and I had to intervene just once, like 6 hours of driving, just one intervention.
So then let's help people build better robots so that we can get to that phase much more faster. Your LinkedIn bio says that you are working on robots to push humanity forward and you love solving hard engineering problems and you're crazy about startups and world domination. So let's start with there. What do you mean by world domination?
I guess by word nomination, I think it was a very ambitious way of putting yourself out there, uh, and yeah, that's basically a call to like find similar minded people. And what I believe about the world is like solving like really hard engineering problems moves us forward. So
Mhm.
if you talk about, let's say, most of the world problems get solved by, let's say, abundant energy. Most of the world's problems are, you know, like most wealth is actually always labor. And then most machines, like if machines become better, they are able to perform labor better. So whatever human hours used to be spent in doing something, be it physical task or mental task, now computers and robots are going to do them. And that's basically, where you have more wealth. So I do believe in this idea that you will, or rather the humanity will reach abundance once we have solved a lot of hard problems. So, and that's what we should be spending our time on. Yeah.
Okay. Abundance, as in, what do you mean by abundance?
It's this idea, right? Like where you actually don't have to, work is something which becomes optional then. And it's more like, okay, if you have to do some kind of labor, it makes more sense to go to the gym than actually doing hard labor of some sorts. And once you have enough resources, world wouldn't have to like we wouldn't have to like do things which are menial. We can actually do much more creatively fulfilling jobs or fulfilling work.
Like, would you have some examples in mind? Like, if we are not working, then what is it that we're doing?
I guess we'll get into, you know, doing what we wanted to do, right? Like there was always like this thing about creating art and creating other things. I believe humans should be doing that and not the kind of work which a lot of us are doing. I think only like a few very small percentage of people actually get to experience that kind of a life. But if you look at, let's say, if you were a king in the 15th century, right, versus any normal human being right now, their life is very different now. Like if you are in a, in a normal, if you're not struggling, uh, you have access to so many medicines, you have access to communication, you have access to a lot of food, which is now industrially produced. Um, World has changed a lot, and I think we are moving towards that. We just don't realize it yet. Yeah.
So we'll
Um,
have something like universal basic income, which
uh,
a lot of conversations have gone around that. And I do believe in whatever you just said. According to me, also like the main purpose of robots would be to free humanity from like how they did it with the physical labor, and now they are doing it with the mental labor. And it is about exploring what it is more to be a human. So yeah, like
yeah,
would there be
absolutely. I
different?
believe in, I actually believe in the universal high income. I think there was a discussion about this. And,
Yeah,
why not? Right? Like, if, like, once you have labor which becomes abundant, we will have all the resources which we want. And one point of time, it would become, we would all become like those Buddhist monks who've already tried everything and now they are just meditating.
enjoying life.
Yeah.
Just just maybe trying to understand what internal stimulations is versus the external ones, I guess.
Yes. Hmm.
Wow, that's like a very spiritual way of starting a podcast. And I like it actually. I have also been in this space for quite some time now. So I think you had also mentioned that you had drifted a bit on this side of your journey.
Yeah, absolutely. It kind of came to those questions, right? Like, what happens after this? And I
Yeah,
believe like this is where we are getting to, right? Like humans are going to get into a different level of consciousness. And once we are done with uh, most of the so-called work which we do, um, yeah, it's going to look very different than what the world looks like. I do believe
yeah,
like there won't be any conflicts. Once you have abundant energy, a lot of world problems are going to get solved.
true. Great. So then let's help people build better robots so that we can get to that phase much more faster and maybe doing it one person at a time. That's why I would like to share these stories and push it out to as many people as possible so that no matter if they are the founder or they're building a company as a employee or even as a researcher, or maybe they are helping it through finance, being a VC, any which ways they can come in this ecosystem and be a part of it. So any inputs that they can get through this conversation or through the journey of yours, it'll be great, I guess. So let's start with where were you born so that it helps to understand your background and how did your mindset came into being when people didn't even know that something like robots existed, but you actually built something around it. So it just helps us understand like where did you grow up and what was your environment like? What did your parents do?
Yeah, so I'll start with my grandparents. So both of my grandparents from both sides, both mothers and father side, they actually come from railways, and they were both in Bihar. Both my mother and father. I was actually born in this city called Bhagalpur, which is the
Okay.
second or third largest city in Bihar. And then from there, I think when I was very young, and my father was already in Delhi, and we were in Delhi. So I grew up in Delhi, very much identify as a Delhi person. Now maybe a more San Francisco person, but for most of my life, uh, I grew up in Delhi. Um, yeah, did my schooling from Kendriya Vidyalaya, then went to
That is a state board. Hmm.
okay, yeah, not state board, but Kendriya Vidyalaya is like very much like central.
Okay.
Yeah. So,
And
and
in
then
this journey,
from
like where did you hear the word robot first? Like was it school time
yeah, absolutely. I
or
was very
college?
fascinated. In fact, this was not my first thing. I want to like actually go there. Robots kind of happened because of my first company. And I was like, as a child, I was very fascinated by automobiles. I was very fascinated by Henry Ford. By
Oh,
how
interesting.
uh, like everything automotive was extremely fascinating for me. So when I grew up, I took mechanical engineering. Wanted to do like aerospace before that, but mechanical engineering was something which was very attractive. And
So was that
uh,
because you heard the story of how Henry Ford got the cars revolution and then that inspired you?
one of those things, but I was just so attracted to cars all my life. And during my college years, I actually got to like make one. There was this competition called Baha SE, and that was the first time it was happening in India. This is like 2007, and
Mm.
it was almost like at one point, me and my few of my friends, we were basically pushing um, like the authorities who were about to do this competition to do this sooner so that I can do it without before I graduate. So
Mm.
it was interesting, like we were given like 8 or 9 months to build a car. Nobody knew how to do it. Uh, Basically, and then at that time, internet was a much smaller place. YouTube was a much smaller place. You couldn't really like watch a video and do something. So we
Yeah.
had to figure out a lot of things, and it kind of gave me this crazy confidence, right? Like either if nobody tells you something, you go back and you don't try it, or you figure it out. And that figuring out part was something which gave us so much confidence as, as just college graduates, where I was like, dude, I can make anything now. And it
Right.
was, um, and that kind of led me into starting my first company, which was called Evomo, and where I was building a truck for rural areas.
So you did that just right after college?
Almost, yeah. I worked for like almost like, and it was 2008. So I worked for like 5.5 months in this company. Now they're called Sona Comstar. They're one of the biggest suppliers to, uh, like one of the biggest suppliers of um, electric powertrain parts to companies like Tesla. So if you're driving a Tesla, there might be a very good chance
Oh,
the powertrain has been built in Gurgaon, or powertrain components are built in Gurgaon. So I was
okay.
working there,
Got it.
did that for 5.5 months. It was almost to a point where I was like getting bored. I learned whatever I had to learn. A lot of things were very interesting. I think how they were doing production at that scale, the way quality works, and how it gets tracked, how
Right.
large companies function. But yes, I was also getting bored, and I was kind of happy. I got like a
Little
layoff
expo.
kind come. Hey, you can join us later when we have more money.
Oh,
So
oh, okay.
I was delighted. I remember like it was the Christmas Eve when I was just coming back to home, and I was so happy that hey, now I'm free. I can do anything.
Your Christmas gift was like delivered. You're like, this is what I wanted. Now I
Yeah,
will do what I actually wanted to do without
yeah,
anyone questioning me or I don't know.
yeah. And okay, my first plan was to actually like do the gate exam and
Oh,
yeah, just go for masters somewhere where I'll get like a lab and facilities where I can try new things. So that was my first um like the first thing I thought about, because hey, I don't have like I live in a small house, and my father used to work for the government, so we had like a government flat, but it we didn't have enough space like where I can actually build things. So that was it kind of became clear, okay, we'll have to do some masters of some sort. And then I was preparing for gate. And while I was writing that exam, there were like maybe around 1 hour left. There were 12 questions which required like bigger calculations, so you had to like
mhm.
actually apply the brain. Rest of it was actually easy. Um, but those last 12 calculations required you to do some calculations. And I was, I asked myself, hey, what am I doing now? I don't want to do this. I don't want to be solving these problems. Uh, what should I be doing? And,
So you're having like a moment, a aha moment in the middle of your examination.
yeah, exactly. And and I'd already like started working for something. I already had this idea that, okay, there are these people in rural India uh, who are using these, makeshift vehicles. They're called Jugaad. And
Mm-hmm.
if you go towards Punjab, you will see, even now, I was in India back in 2024. I actually saw one which has a pumps engine, and it looks like a Jeep truck, something, a pickup truck, and then it's made out of wood and everything else. And I was like fascinated by those things. I was, as someone who believed in like engineering, aesthetics, design sense, this was just like breaking all my models. And I was so curious to understand. I actually started going and talk to like some of these people who were driving them. I actually took one trip while I was still employed. I took like one trip to this place called Bulandshahr, and that was like, uh, it kind of opened my mind. I was
So when you
so
took that trip is when you actually noticed that, and then that kind of
yeah.
was
I
stuck in
was
you.
told by someone as well. Like I was told, hey, you made this car in your college workshop. You should actually go and check that out. And
Oh.
yeah, and it was one of those things which like I was fascinated. I was like, okay, I want to know more. Why do even people need this, right? Like I was. I lived in south of Delhi where I was like pretty you know, I had like really good modes of transportation, right? I was, I used to take a bus from everywhere, right? Delhi is very well connected, and then we had the
Mm-hmm.
metro and everything else. Like, it was breaking all my models. Where like, why do people even need these things, right? There should be state transportation. There has to be something else.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go out, like when a Delhi boy goes to city, like, oh, sorry, goes to a village, it kind of changes
Yeah.
how they start thinking. And then, I was like spending time there in villages trying to understand, like, why does it need to happen? And it was crazy. Like, what I understood was, um, I mean, it was never, um, it was very weird for me to understand, right? Like, and back in like 2008, 9, people used to make like 1,500 rupees by driving one of those things. And then, because it used to break down so often, there was so much of pollution. Police can actually take it anytime. You basically do not have any property rights on something which you bought as, like your most expensive possession. You don't actually have any property rights. So they can take it
Mm-hmm.
anyway, anytime. And this was like a, and I started digging more, found out that there's so many of these. It was kind of showing me that, yeah, there could be like a lower cost truck kind of a thing for these
Mm-hmm.
areas, which nobody else is making right now. And the idealist I was, like a 22-year-old, I'm going to change the world. I
Right.
thought, yeah, this is my thing.
Let's do it.
And
Oh.
yeah, and all of these ideas, like this was like kind of racing in my head while I was doing that exam. And during that exam, I was like, okay, I don't want to be doing this. I don't want to be doing a master's. Like, I'm done. And so I was just sitting there,
In the middle
thought
of the
about, okay,
paper, you zoned out and do you leave?
yeah. It's one of those things where, you're trying to push yourself into one direction and then you realize, okay, this is not for me.
Mm,
So, uh,
right.
it, and then, I was like, okay, this is happening. I can figure out what to do next. And then from there, I got like incubated at NID Ahmedabad.
How
I
did
actually
that
got,
happen?
sorry?
How did that happen? Like, how did the
Uh,
incubation happen?
I met their director
Just
once.
trying to understand that. How did you go from like ideating that and then approaching others? So, like, what did you do in that
It was,
process?
I think, a LinkedIn cold message to their director.
Oh,
And yeah, I think it just happened.
so
Like they
what you
were,
had like pitch ready?
I just said, I want to like make something like this. So it was like
Oh,
that. Yeah.
okay.
And
So
then they
this
said,
was
yeah,
just
why
like
don't
one
you
of
come?
fun messages that ways.
Yeah. And
Or
then
you
they
sent
had
it to
like,
like a couple
sorry,
of people. Sorry, did you like send it out to a couple of people or was it like just to them?
I think it was just an idea at that time.
And you just send it to them. That's it. Nobody
Yes.
else.
Yeah.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
And then
So there was like some kind of a presentation which you had to do. So I prepared that, and yeah, we got selected for that. And yeah, I moved to Ahmedabad back in 2010.
so you
So
did it with someone?
I had two other co-founders who did not join. So yeah,
Okay. And where
yeah.
did you meet them?
One of them was my classmate. The other guy I met at so during my college years, we built that car and we had
Mhm.
displayed it at Auto Expo. And I met this guy who had a stall right next to me from Arvik Engineering College. So we, kind of hit it off at that time.
Hmm.
But yeah, it was not something which they wanted to do. I mean, the risk involved were too much for them, and I was like, no, bro. And yeah, I am anyway into it. I don't think I can do anything else. Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. And then was it like you people stayed in touch and you used to discuss these ideas with your other fellow members that okay, hey, I'm doing this. What do you think about it? How was it? Like what made you say okay? What made all the three co-founders say that okay, let's do it?
I think it was just me who was very convinced that this is the way to do. Yeah.
Hmm. And you just saw that who could like just come along that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So then you got incubated with them?
An idea. Yeah. It was, again, it's, now I think things are obviously changing, but back then it was not like, um, it's I wouldn't say like that's the best, most efficient use of like government money or taxpayers' money to be. There were a lot of problems. There were in fact companies who actually died along the way, and they had like back then they had a corpus of like 100 crore rupees, which they had given out like maybe a crore rupees, and basically I saw like so many people just dying out in that way. So many young people who had so much potential, they just could not get where they wanted to be, or yeah, so it's
Because of
it's
some
kind of
particular
sad.
reason?
Hmm?
Because of some particular reason?
I think people were just incompetent, right? Like there's no other way to put it.
Oh.
Yeah, so
Mm.
I mean, imagine like bureaucrats versus, you're trying to get 20-year-olds who are going to do the work of their life.
Hmm.
Yeah, so like these are the people who have never taken risk in their lives. These are the people who are taking highest risk. How do you actually put them together to expect something better happens? And
Oh.
yeah, I mean, these people are too scared of like doing anything, right? Like the bureaucrats are too scared of doing anything,
Hmm.
but they are supposed to lead this.
Both the mindsets are very different, and then there wasn't
Exactly.
even anyone to bridge that mindset to understand both sides of the story and then take things ahead in
Yeah,
some way.
absolutely. I mean, in fact, like if you look, um, if you read Paul Graham's tweets, right, he was saying that every time like I've had like someone from university, he was trying to teach entrepreneurship, and it's such a lived experience. It's
Mm.
very very hard. Otherwise, I mean, nobody
Interesting.
can teach you that.
Right.
Yeah, you can be in a group of peers who probably done it before and then can advise you, but all of those things are like going to look extremely different, like because um it's kind of now discussed that founders kind of have their ears to what is going to happen. They're able to foresee a lot of things, and that's why
Wow.
they choose this, because otherwise it's extremely risky as a path.
Yeah. So how long you were there with this first company?
I tried like um built like one prototype, then couldn't build the second one, so spent like almost five years there in Ahmedabad. Then I actually got a call from Y Combinator for that same company, and I was trying to um I basically was trying to like incorporate again the same thing in the US and then get US investors. So that was something I was trying, and then got a call from Y Combinator, came here, couldn't clear the interview, but then the kind of conversations I started having was very different. I was like in India, it was, and again, I don't want to be, discouraging anyone. I think the situation has changed drastically. Like I know, okay, I'm gonna finish first, and then I'm gonna say this. So, yeah, and uh, I used to like chase investor for years. They will say, "Oh, baat karenge, Bombay aa jao, baat karte hain." All of these things were like so bad. It was just wasting so much time, so much of youth. was just gone in like chasing all these 50-year-old uncles who were not gonna do it. Like they were too scared, or I don't know what they were looking for. And I was like in a very sad state. Like I remember in 2015, I had to like shut things down. I was trying to like build the next version of the prototype. I already had like people coming to me wanted to order that. There were obviously like some like there were some certifications which I required, which would have required money, but then it could have. I would have figured something out. But then for I think 1.5 lakh rupees, I just shut down the company. And like I always think about that moment. Like it was so hard. Like for almost months, I could not uh, get the money which I needed. And then I had to shut things down. And then I got a call from Y Combinator, and came to, I came to my Mountain View for the interview. And every conversation was like, okay, how do we? I remember like meeting some angel investors. They were so um, they wanted to invest, right? Like, and that was the kind of conversations people were having. And I was like,
Mm-hmm.
okay, this is happening, right? Like, this place is
Right.
something different. There is something I would never think like people would, trust me enough with their
Right.
investment money. And
And you
then,
found your kind of people that, okay, who are on the same
yeah,
wavelength, thinking the same things, trying to build something similar or as excited.
yeah, suddenly, I'm meeting like Fortune 500 CEOs. Uh, things are moving really fast, right? Like,
Mm,
and I was like, okay, I want to be here. Though I couldn't
mm,
spend a lot of time, and then I decided like, okay, I need to move on, do something else, because I was thinking about this like, hey, if I just plot things about my own personal growth versus company growth, I'm just putting in time. I'm not growing, company's not growing. Maybe it's not the thing which I need to do.
mm,
So it was very, very hard, but I had to like actually shut things down. And I remember like I straight away like got a few offers, moved to Bangalore for a bit, then came back to Delhi. Um, I was depressed. I was not like happy about things, and it's one of those things where I kind of got into a point where it was a very comfortable life.
mm,
I'm no longer struggling. I'm no longer thinking about food and how to get money to buy parts for my truck. None of those things were happening, and I was working on a very simple, cool project with a company, consulting for them. I had to like
mm.
go to office like few days a week. I could actually walk from my parents' home to the office. It was fine, but I was like sleeping 12 hours a day. I was putting on weight. Not happy at all. And then I was like, okay, I'm gonna do something. This is gonna be depressing. I'm going to start something else. And then started tinkering few of the few things. And then, yeah, my parents also got like a new house. So my father was retiring. So we got like a place where I kind of convinced them to not buy another flat, but like build our own house so that I get a place where I can tinker. So I got the basement, and yeah. So we moved like I think around December 2016, and I was tinkering on a few things. So I wouldn't say like that was the start of Orangewood Labs in the same way like where it is right now. And we started like building a CNC machine, which is like a computer numeric control machine for cutting pieces of wood. Um, and that kind of led us to making a furniture company. So Hollywood Labs actually started as a furniture company.
Oh, okay. Was it
Yeah.
like an automated furniture company or like
No,
just
no. Yeah, just like
basic
something
furniture?
which, yeah, I wanted to do something which will make money so that I can make another car or maybe a truck. Yeah.
Oh,
So
oh, so you were
I thought,
still
okay,
stuck with the idea of a truck. Oh,
yeah, it doesn't leave you, right? Like I think I still would want to like build something like that again.
mm, sure.
Yeah. Maybe not like something commercial, but something even, something for myself.
Mm,
Um, so
okay.
yeah, we started like, so we built like the CNC machine, and then, that was cutting pieces of wood furniture. And we thought, okay, this is gonna be cool. Everyone should buy it. It's really awesome. And I did not know much about how to like optimize the site and other things.
So
Um,
you were tinkering it with your co-founders in
yes,
this mini
yeah.
lab that you created of your own. And how did you find them?
Oh, so one of them was my okay. So I have two more co-founders. One of them
Right.
I was my roommate from NIT. He was a student. He was a furniture design student.
Oh,
And
okay.
then another guy was actually from the investment side. So I am Ahmedabad also invested in our company. So he
Right.
was from I am Ahmedabad's investment team
Okay. But where did you meet him then?
in
Ajay,
Ahmedabad. Both of these people I met in Ahmedabad. They were both
when you
from Delhi.
were when you were incubated there is where you met both the founders
Yes.
and you kind of
Yes.
stayed in touch with them
Yes. Yes.
that phase. Oh, and is it like you people spoke often about and or exchanged ideas about what's happening and what you want to do?
Yeah,
Something,
absolutely.
right?
I think you kind of like know when you meet people that, hey, this could be a good co-founder. In your head, you're
Mm.
always thinking, hey, this person could be a great team member. I think
Mm.
that's what um, I was doing in my head. And I think everything clicked at that time. And
Mm.
so we started like making furniture. Nobody bought it in the beginning. And the idea was that, okay, you'll create a catalog and then based on the orders, you'll start making
Right.
furniture.
Right.
And we started doing that, but we were not getting any orders like in the first month. So nobody bought it.
Mm.
And but what happened was like someone saw the website who was building a co-working space. And at that time, like this is 2017, co-working spaces were cool. They were like
Mm.
all over the place. And
Yeah.
because of WeWork, right? Like this, yeah, it was the AI
New
of its
trend
time.
that
Yeah,
let's work from a co-working space.
yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. So we started like so there was one group of people who basically were starting a co-working space. So we
Mm.
did that, and then they wanted another one. So we started like getting orders. Like I think within 5 months we had like 8 lakh rupees of revenue. So,
Nice.
or sorry, $8,000. Yeah, I think in those $10 terms. So,
Mm.
um, that much revenue from like three different projects where we were supplying furniture, and then we also got a call from Y Combinator. So we
So
came,
during that period, you even registered this particular idea with Y Combinator that this is what we're doing
yeah,
now.
we applied for Y Combinator,
So
and
you
then
but at side you were always a hustler wherein you used to keep networking or keep putting out yourself, right?
I
Like
guess that's
just to
yeah,
get
that
opportunities, I
happens. I
guess.
think that happens naturally.
Because not everyone does that. Not everyone, if they are starting a, say, even for a furniture company, they wouldn't apply it somewhere that, okay, let's put it out there. Like, it's not normal, actually.
I think in my head, I've always wanted to kind of
Right.
like
I think in
apply.
your head, you had a different mindset, and then you were like, okay, why would you apply to a Y Combinator? Just with a furniture company is my question.
So yeah, that was because so our pitch was we build beautiful furniture using robots. And this
Okay.
basically it was a CNC machine, which is again a robot, a different looking robot. So,
Hmm.
and our focus was to basically make these machines so that they can do like all of the furniture building.
Got it.
So that was the initial idea. And then typically Y Combinator takes you in at idea stage. Like that's what their whole thing is. And so we were called for the interview. We came to Mountain View again, similar room. Um, I remember like we were staying in an Airbnb in Mountain View, and then we get so typically when you get a call from YC, you have for rejection they email you with a like with an explanation, and then for an acceptance they call you, and I get an email which was asking for my number. So it was like, okay, are we in or are we not? But
Oh.
we sent them their number, and then I got a call that yeah, you are in. So that
Mm.
happened, and yeah, after that um, we did YC back in winter of 18, so winter of 2018 batch from January to March, and we had our
Okay.
demo day in March. And like at that time, at the demo day, I remember like when people were just emailing me to give me money. So I was like, there was like one phone call where I was literally in tears. Someone just closed like $25,000 over a phone call. I did not know this person. Um, yeah, so it was very different kind of an experience,
So,
right? And
what are
then,
the vibes of startup world and okay, doing something is very different there versus here. Like that's what you experienced, and that's
yeah,
what made you overwhelmed. Yeah,
yeah, I think now it has obviously changed a lot. Uh,
I'm sure.
I know like there are funds who basically would fund like, college students now.
Right,
So I know for sure that this has changed a lot, and I believe like that's where we have to be. Like the risk capital has to be available for 20-year-olds. Otherwise, we are not going to make it. So
right.
I think it has changed a lot. Yeah, but yeah, at that time it was unheard of. Like we were um it like suddenly I had a lot of money to actually tinker and do things. So yeah.
Mhm. And they were ready to fund you at India, like you were India-based
Yeah.
company, right?
Yeah, so they don't. You just need to be a Delaware C corp for them to invest. You can be an Indian company or anywhere else. They just
Mm.
want like it to be headquartered in the US at that time. So, uh,
Mm.
yeah,
So then, how much did you raise?
I think
And
in total. So at that time, YC used to invest 120K,
Mhm.
and now it's 500K. So, and then we raised I think another 240K that time during the demo day. Yeah, so that was a lot of money from India terms. Like you
Yes.
could come back here, and then we were building furniture, we were getting more orders. We actually at one point we were, I think, over like few $1 million in orders. But
Wow.
then most of them were co-working space who did not like do as well. So so those kind of did not materialize, and it was kind of getting clear that that industry is probably now slowing down. There was a lot of hype, and now it's kind of getting to where it needs to be.
Mm.
And we probably were not doing the, we are not probably in the right business for us. Our uniqueness was about technology, and how we put things together. And it was also becoming clear that, okay, there is, even for building furniture, you need to, okay, you can cut pieces of wood very quickly, in a very precise way, but then you need to paint it, finish it. And all of these processes required more robots. And if we were having humans, but then they would not be on time. There were always problems with managing a lot of, like a labor pool. It was becoming difficult for us. So it came to a point like where we were very clear that, okay, we need to have robots here, like other kind of robots. And then I started like um, going out to understand how much it costs. And being a Delhi person, I'm always like trying to compare it to a BMW 3 Series. So okay, a robotic arm which you can almost put like on your desktop, that cost as much as a BMW 3 Series, and which was not making any sense. And I actually, uh, you know, in the automotive industry, I used to work with components where I would try to reduce the cost of a Toyota Revit from 28 rupees to 7 rupees. And so I was doing a lot of these what we call as cost engineering. Some people call it the first principle thinking, because Elon Musk does that. Like there's this thing called idiot index in in every Tesla company. Oh, sorry, every Elon Musk company, where they try to like figure out how much the cost has increased from when you take it out from ore to like the actual product. So yeah, so we were doing that kind of thing. We just did not know it's called first principle engineering, first principle thinking. So it was very clear, okay, there's something missing here. There's something which is overpriced and it should not be like this. And so started digging and realized that there is a lot which, should be happening. This is going to be the next automotive, or maybe this is going to be the next computer. And people are just not, like, the costs are too much. Like nobody can tinker on it. No, almost no engineering college hasn't, because it's so expensive and so hard to program. All of these things were like becoming extremely clear. So, uh, so yeah, I mean, then we pivoted from building furniture to doing this.
Okay.
Yeah.
So right now, what you're doing is what you figured in that process.
Yeah, absolutely. So since 2019, we've been building robotic arms, and
Hmm.
yeah, it's a lot harder. That's what I'll say.
Hmm.
Than just building like CNC machines or maybe even 3D printer. This is like much harder. There's so much of math goes into
Hmm.
the kinematics and the dynamics. Um, it can become like really it can become really complicated.
So what
So
are the things that goes into it which makes you feel that this is what you need solving? These are the 5, 10 things, and then that's why it makes it hard.
It's like inverse kinematics. Basically, if you have any point in space where you want your robot to reach with a
Mhm.
certain pose, pose basically means if this is how the robot looks like. So, what is the raw yaw, pitch, and roll
Mm.
of the actual end effector? And if you have to go to like a certain coordinate, how do you reach there? You can reach in multiple ways, but what is like the most efficient way? Um, Even this science is not like fully there, right? You actually have to
Okay.
design, like do this math first and then design the robot. We actually did not know that before building. So we got into a lot of problems. Like that was crazy. But yeah, I mean, it's just something that, if there's a hard problem, you just have to spend more time and be dedicated. And we were able to solve this and somewhere like after, like when there were like lesser pandemic restrictions by mid 2021, we started piloting. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
So you were basically doing it for made to order. Like it wasn't like you were doing it for a specific application, but it was like, okay, what is it that you want the robot to do? And then
Uh,
accordingly you placing the
so
robot.
the robot arms which we were building, they could actually do a lot of things. That's one of the best things about robot
Right.
arms. They're extremely versatile. So
Hmm.
now there's a lot of talk about humanoids, but I believe like humanoids kind of inherit like you know, uh, whatever shortcomings human body has. But
Oh,
robot arms, on the other hand, and you can actually, they're like extremely versatile. It's basically like this, from this part to this part. This is like one of the most useful things in human beings, and a robot arm is basically, it's basically eyes, brain, and heart.
hmm.
So you could actually do a lot of things. It's very versatile.
Hmm.
And that's why it is preferred by a lot of industries where there's, throughput. There's where you want to have like higher throughput.
Got it. So you build the arms are completely built by you, or do you
Yes.
collaborate it with someone?
I mean, this was entirely us. We do have vendors,
Mhm.
but yeah, it was actually designed built by us.
So I think one of your LinkedIn bio also says that engineering graduate with a high appreciation of good design. So how did you inculcate? And of course, I think even having this conversation with you, you do have some aesthetics about the design. It should be good. So how did you inculcate that in when you were building the robot arm? Like
Mm,
what all things you had in mind?
yeah. So for us, like something like this should not be scaring people, and
Okay.
sadly it does. Like, and because there's people don't know about it enough. Like, you haven't played with it enough to be not
Hmm.
scared of a robotic arm.
Right.
There's so much like always about like, hey, robotic safety. Every time like you hear this and in your head you're just playing this, hey, this can be a problem.
Yeah.
And a lot of times it is, but we actually want to get away from that notion. And so that's why we had to make it like really friendly. Something which, let's say, even a let's say a teenager would want to play with.
Hmm. So
So
can you talk us through your prototyping journey that when you decided to build this robot arms, um, how did it go about? Did you design first? Where did you procure parts from? How did you assemble them? What were the mistakes that you learned from? And then how did your final product come into being? So just to understand what it takes to build a robot. So in your case, it's the robot arm.
So, I mean, for us, so we had like a few prototypes which we were building. So in 2019, we built like I think 2 or 3 units just to see how it can go. We moved away from stepper motors to servos, and basically had to like build our own servos from brushless DC motors. So that was also like another deal. It was a lot harder. The first robot got built like somewhere, I think after like somewhere around mid 2020, we had like the first unit working, and then after that,
And how long did that take?
it took like almost 1.5 years to get to that
One and a
point.
half years.
Yeah.
Mm.
And then, we found like shortcomings there. Our approach wasn't like the best. And so we had like another version. That was something which started working.
Okay. And
We
when was that? The
So
next
this
version?
was like in early 2021.
Okay, so
So
another 6 months added to it for the next version of prototype.
yeah, so January 2021 was the time when we started testing the new design. And that's the one which you'll probably like see on the website and everywhere else. But that
Oh.
is also now being phased out. We've already like exhausted like all the inventory we had for that.
Mm.
And but yeah, it's very interesting, how like it got its shape, and we had to do a lot of compromises on few things on the design, but in few ways it's very brilliant as well.
So is
Yeah.
it like you made the design in the 3D and then you come back to the shop floor, you fix the parts, and then you again go back, you change the design. So is it like a constant back and
Yes.
forth, or is it like you first, because you're a tinkerer, you build it first and then you go back and design it that this is how it looks?
So, so the first one was built without like doing the whole IK calculation. So that was, yeah, it kind of got into trouble later. So we were clear, okay, this is not going to work. Also, it was very heavy. The first designs usually tend to become heavier because you try to play safe. You're not like optimizing for design, but just the part where hey, it just works. So that was our focus at that time. And um
And what was the
and
cost of your prototype?
I think a few lakh rupees every time. Yeah. Prototyping was so the interesting part was prototypes are actually not as expensive. You could actually build one of these for like a much lower cost, like even for the first time, than you will buy it for. So, which is interesting, right? Like, because if you just go and try to make a Tata cars equivalent, right? It would actually cost you more than, what you can buy from a showroom. But that's not the case because robots were anyway overpriced. Yes. It's
As
a lot.
for
Yeah. I mean, I'm not saying that it's, it's not nothing, but let's say some $10,000, you actually get a prototype working. So,
okay. It's the time, I think that's the more expensive part
yes,
than the
time plus
prototype.
like the engineering hours you have to put in, yeah, number of people who are involved. Yeah.
Okay. So presently, like, how many robots do you build, like, in a period of, say, 6 months, or how many robots have you already deployed till yet?
So we have more than 50 units at this point of time. There are like few others who, I mean, we'll get to like 60, I think, by in the next month. So
Okay.
yeah, it's but yeah, I mean, we are also like phasing out our old design, and there's a new design which is coming. So there would be a gap in between, and for that time, we would be using other companies' robots for like just
Mm.
that time, for because we
Mm-hmm.
have like so much pressure from our customers to actually
Okay.
deliver those things.
Right.
But soon we would be like moving to a completely new engineering standard and our own design, our own robots.
Right. And how big is the team right now?
So right now it's 24 people. Yeah.
24. So you are still involved in the tinkering phase, like you still um, involve
Yeah.
yourself in the
Yes,
next
absolutely. I
version of
think,
the robot building phase.
yeah, absolutely. It's not something, I'd given that up. Like there was a time when we had like 50 people, 50 plus people in the team, and
Hmm.
uh, my work had become like more admin and you know not
Hmm.
interesting for a long time. But now I'm like involved in every engineering decision, which I love. Yeah,
Hmm.
yeah,
Okay. I think you understood that that is who you are. So you would always want to be involved in that phase of building a
yeah,
product. And because then
absolutely.
it always remains your product, kind of, no matter
Yes.
how best team you get on board, I guess.
Yeah, and it's also about like, and this is again, I'd like to touch upon this because, and there was like this whole series about being on founder mode. So what
Hmm.
happens is like when your company becomes like bigger, like more than 30 people, it changes in its direction.
Right.
And it like, now every new hire, especially the senior ones, you have to be like very careful of, right? They would have done something great in their previous company or whatever they were doing. For them to be like, and they do start shaping the culture.
Hmm.
So you still like you have to be super involved. You should not be because in the end, like it's you only who cares about the thing which you're building for the company you're building. Nobody else cares as much, and that's why there's always like there can be a mismatch based on if you're bringing people from outside. So
So
be extremely
how do you
careful.
Right. So how do you make sure that the culture remains what you want it to go? Because, like you very well said, like when someone comes in, they bring in their own culture and the own way of working, and then they might leave after a certain time period. But then you need to keep your culture intact so that someone else can
Absolutely.
come in and
So
not again it's
yeah,
different. What is it that takes to keep the design culture so that your robot remains on the track? Yeah.
I think so. One of the things which we were missing out was like the curiosity which we always had, right? Like, hey, let's try it. Let's try to build this. I think, when you have external managers, because they see it like as their success, they don't want to waste time. And you start losing like, the main essence of like the actual building. And I believe like that's where like the company starts changing. It
Mm.
stopped being fun. And so you actually need to figure this out, right? And then like the fun becomes like a retreat. That should not be the case. What you're doing, the work of your life, and this should be like more fun than anything else. And there was a time like we lost that culture, but now it's back. So especially with like a smaller team and much more focused team. Yeah.
So right now, all your sales is American market.
No, actually, the sales right now, there was some sales in the US, but now it's actually focused in India. In the US, we have like a smaller R&D team. So there was like there was a decision which we took, right? Like we were becoming more of a system integrator than actually a company which is tinkering. And there's obviously some merit to it, right? Like few years down the line, we could have become like $100 million revenue company growing like quarter by quarter, but someone with AI would have replaced us. And because what happens is like if you're trying to solve a problem on the assembly line or on the manufacturing line, your focus is only to solve that problem, and then you would go to the tool which actually works. With AI, there was a lot of like uncertainty. There was a lot of non-determinism, and we were not sure that okay, whatever we have built would be translating directly to the manufacturing line. And so we had to hire people who were like mostly like integration people who would like use like a much older stack in robotics to deploy a robot. But that would have actually not led us to actually building the AI which would eventually do it on its own. So yeah, and the the reason why we got into AI was back in 2021 when we started deploying robots. We realized okay, every place where we're going to deploy a robot, it's going to look different. And then kind of like without understanding it enough, we had pulled the trigger on, hey, this is what we're going to do. But then the problem was actually not just the cost of robot; it was actually how it is used and how much training does one person require to be able to like build and design a robotic system. So and yeah, we started tinkering with GPT-3 back in 22. Like being in YC and in San Francisco, that kind of gives you access to anything new which gets launched much before like it's on the internet. So we got like access to GPT-3, and then we started tinkering, and it was very clear that okay, there is some direction. You could actually do a lot of things which you were spending a lot of time on before, and now like even the code generation could be done quickly, and this is like back in 2022. And by early 23, before like the term VLA, action language model um, was coined, we actually had a version called RoboGPT, which could like take a text input and then based on that take a decision, make the robot work in a certain way.
And you are actively working more around that presently.
Yeah, absolutely. So our like the focus, like most of the focus in the research and development is now just on AI and how to like make the robot, um, like make almost every human being, program and deploy a robot.
Right. Okay.
Yeah,
So it's more through text or verbal, or like how is
you
it?
could do both, like text, verbal, but what makes us special is that we actually use the current setup which the customer has, instead of us dictating, hey, this is how it should be, and then we will have like one or two forward deployed engineer who will go and do things like take readings and take measurements of your whole thing, design something around it, take like 6 months to deploy. We
Hmm.
actually are creating a system where customers can buy things online, and the robot basically comes pre-configured, and then the robot basically figures out everything. Like it can take its own measurements. It can figure out what to do next, or if it does not know, it can ask human to teach it how to do it.
Can
Let's
you
say
give
if
an
it has to.
example of
Uh,
one of the things that you've installed, and this is how the robot goes, and this is how it learns?
so imagine you have like a drill press, which you need to like drill holes on a metal plate or something.
Hmm.
So we have created a way where a user can basically show the robot. And by showing the robot, the same way you teach a child, right? Like you'll tell them, hey, go and press a button. Like you'll drag their hands towards the button.
Hmm.
So we actually have created a system where you can teach the robot in a similar way. While
Okay.
you basically talk to it, hey, this is a button. You can hover over the button. You can take and then the robot also has cameras. Even the arm has
Hmm.
a camera. You can take the camera towards it. It actually can identify a button, and then you can just help it zero in on the position, and then that trains a AI policy which can keep pressing the button wherever that button is in the in the robot's world. So that's how we are like basically we are creating uh, methods by which any user can train the robot. So it's no longer like, hey, just do this. Most people expect that, hey, this is how the robot is going to be. I think with robot butlers, it makes sense, right? Like for home robots and other things, it would make sense to just give them like a high level thing.
I don't want to tell you how to clean it that way. Yeah, got it.
Exactly. But with like production robots, right? Like with robots which are going to perform industrial tasks, the people who are going to like most customers want some level of control. And this is one way of actually giving them control, not like, some like, um, like we should not be telling them how to do their job. And this is something which I've understood, like after spending so much time on factory floors. Yeah.
Hmm. That's interesting. So, what all services does your robot do right now? Like, what all it can do?
So most of our earlier customers were into paintings, spray painting, powder coating. Now we are moving most towards machine operations. So if you have a semi-automated machine where a human was required to like feed or rather load a robot a part into a part into the machine, then press a button, wait the machine for doing
Mhm.
its thing, then take out the part, put it somewhere else, and then repeat the cycle. So this is
Hmm.
what happens in a lot of, like, if you talk about automotive, if you talk about most electronics, most of the work is now actually being done by machines. Humans
Hmm.
are just there to observe and
Yeah.
do like some quality checks or actually loading and unloading the part. So this is where we are kind of focusing,
Hmm.
because like in most modern factories, this is what is happening. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. And where do you see yourself like 10 years from now? What do you see your robots do 10 years from now?
So most industrial production would be done by our robots. Our robots.
Mhm.
Yes, that's where we see ourselves. Just in the US, the workflow which I described to you, happens like
Hmm.
400 billion times. If you include China, Europe, and India, this number goes to like 2 trillion or more.
Hmm.
And we do believe like even this number is going to increase because the consumerism is going to increase.
Right.
Yeah.
Hmm. Okay. So you see yourself getting more deeper into what kind of more jobs the robot can perform on a shop floor. But
Yes.
you'll stick to the industrial, the production, the manufacturing side.
We want to, yeah.
You got it. And where do you see in general the world going in 10 years from now with robots? Like
Uh,
either homes or public spaces or yeah, other
Absolutely. I think it's going to look very, very different from what it looks like. And it's almost like there's this code where, a future is already here. It's just not evenly distributed. So if you're living in San Francisco, you can take a Waymo from one place to another,
interesting.
right?
Yeah.
It's almost magical. But for someone
Mm-hmm.
who's like an average San Francisco person, it's no longer like cool, right? Hey, it just happens. It
Hmm.
Okay, you have a thing driving on actual streets without a human. And for anyone who's not here, right, anyone who's not where Waymo is, for them it's like a huge deal. So
Right.
so I believe like this is gonna, you know this is gonna happen like much at a much larger scale. Yeah.
Hmm. Do you have any robots at home presently?
uh Home, no. No.
And what about in your like in your manufacturing space?
Yeah, absolutely.
Except
I
for
mean,
yours. Except for yours.
oh,
Other
so we
robots
do
deployed.
benchmark with some of the other companies, so that's not a problem. I'll not be able to name which ones, but yeah.
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 No, as in like not for your work, but then in general, like either to clean spaces or like,
Cleaning,
the
yes,
more
yes.
commonly used ones.
Yeah,
So
I mean,
just see what is the adoption of
yeah.
robotics by a roboticist.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I don't have a Roomba or anything right now, but I'm planning to get one.
Hmm.
Um, I have a Tesla Model Y with full self driving, so I use it almost every day.
Okay.
So more than
But
like,
then that's more of your passion. You had to have it
no, I
because you
mean,
love
so passion would have been
cars in
driving,
general.
right? Okay, passion would have been driving. I actually don't drive it now.
Oh,
Is
okay.
the
But then
Yeah,
your
is the
passion is cars, so you might have it. Like I don't know.
I thought so, but see,
You
point is,
thought.
and I love
Oh.
driving. I love
Uh,
driving, and everything is great about a Tesla. But I mean, the thing which like it can drive itself, that
yeah.
is just amazing. Like it can take me from my home to my office
Mm-hmm.
without me touching the steering wheel, and I can just be doing anything else.
So it
So
happens right now. Like you do that on a daily basis.
yes, like
Right.
70% of my driving is now like done by FSD. It's like
Mm.
full self driving, and I did travel to like LA from San Francisco back in like last May, and I had to intervene just once, like 6 hours of driving, just one intervention. So
Mm.
this is already happening. Yeah.
Got it. Okay. So we also spoke about some work-life balance, right? Also, like every technology comes with a promise that, okay, it will improve your life, which it does. But it also comes with a promise that, okay, you will also get a lot of time, like either to spend with your family or spend on something that you're passionate about. But apparently, it does not seem as much like people aren't really getting as much time, even with a lot of technology that has come on board. So, what do you have to say about that? When is it that we can see that, okay, finally, we can say that, okay, along with improving our lives, technology has given us the time to either spend with our family or something that we are passionate about or something just to explore in general?
Mm. Yeah, I mean, again, I love tinkering, so I may not be the best person to say that. I've never believed in it. Neither I had I've not had like that kind of obligation. I do believe like, the 9 to 5 work culture that would change. People will start having like very intense um, time of work, like, let's say a few months of very intense work and then cooling off time.
Hmm.
And if you look at some of the more creative industries like filmmaking, they actually don't stick to schedules. Even I remember like there was a time when I think one of the Pixar movies, one of the Toy Stories, I don't remember which one, but there was a time when they had created like the whole movie and then they realized it's not fun. I mean, it's not great. So they actually redid everything. And then they took like a month break. Yeah.
Mm. Okay.
So because they had to meet a certain deadline. And I believe like that's how humans are going to go. They're probably going to do like a project thing for, let's say, one or
Hmm.
maybe a few months and then chill for most of the time. That's how humanity is going to look like moving forward.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I
Like,
think with
why
with
just do
indie
like per
creators,
day basis? Right.
yeah, but with indie software developers, I think it's already happened.
Mm.
Like they'll make like a micro SaaS or something, like which just does revenue on its own, and then they're chilling. Yeah.
Hmm. Got it. Okay. Do you have any favorite robots yet?
Definitely Tesla Model Y. Tesla's, you know, like most of the Tesla cars, I think they are amazing robots. I do
Mm.
like Matic from
Mm. The floor cleaner.
Matic is another. It's like a home robot. I'm
Yeah.
thinking of like getting one of those cooking robots as well. I haven't
Yeah.
yet like come to a point where I haven't bought one yet, but yeah.
Mm. Okay. And any favorite movie robots that you want in the future? Something like that should be there.
Hmm. Star Wars, yes. I mean, Star Wars have inspired so many people.
So R2D2 or C3P? Which one would you pick?
R2D2, yes. R2D2. It's like
So
more
you're not.
functional.
Okay. You don't seem much pro humanoid.
I think it's, it kind of inherits like our shortcomings also. Like, I do believe, like, even with humanoids, it's okay, just by because you need legs for
Mhm.
humanoids, you're just wasting like almost 40% of your energy just by standing.
Okay.
Yeah.
Hmm. So that ways you're like don't inherit. Oh, interesting. That's a very interesting way of seeing a humanoid.
Mhm.
Nice. Okay. Great. I think this is like a great information about your journey that we've unlocked. I think even when we were speaking before, you were like, if you were to start a robotics company right now, you wouldn't come to USA. You would do it in India. So
You could go
any
ahead.
last thoughts? Any last thoughts about what is it that people can make best use of in the ecosystem in India right now, and what is it that people need to add to the ecosystem so that the robotic companies of the future in here become better.
Yeah, I think so. My mentors, one of my mentors, Shashank Dixit, he used to say this thing about, you know, you're not in the traffic, you are traffic. So
Yeah.
instead of like saying, hey, I don't get this thing in India, you should actually start building this in India. I think that's how people should start thinking. And I would say the same thing about in the US because a lot of things don't get built in the US anymore. And, you actually have to be dependent on China, which is not like being extremely friendly with a lot of things. So you
Mhm.
actually should be thinking about building more, like how to actually build the ecosystem.
Right. Yeah, true. Any top three sectors you think anyone can start with if they're starting with right now?
Uh, well, industrial is always going to be like one of my favorites. So even the things like, there's this thing called a tube laser cutting machine. It's something which, I wish I had like back at the time when I was building the truck. And, I see it now like being available for like very low cost now. Something like that, people could just start and, you will see like the whole industry shifts. Like imagine so many people
Mhm.
just being, uh, you know, who are employed in doing a certain task and now they can do other things because that part is over now. So
Mm.
they can actually do a lot of other things which are like more productive.
Got it. And you had also mentioned on about being more on the shop floors and learning what is it that's happening right now, presently, and taking in that information and then understanding what
Absolutely.
really ought to get it. So
Absolutely.
the
I
more
think,
you are,
yeah, we should
how can
not
they
be
do that?
just start like going to any factory which is close to you. Like just go talk to people, try to understand. Most you would not believe this, but most small factory owners they actually want to talk to younger people. Like there has
Okay.
been such a dearth of not having young people around them.
Mhm.
Most people will give you time, they'll take you to dinner, they would want to talk to you.
Nice. I think, like they say, right? Like the majority of money is available in the most boring of the tasks. So, like the SMMEs and the smaller companies, industries, manufacturing side,
Mhm.
they think it's boring, but then that's where even the money lies, and that's where even the automation lies, I guess. So,
It's about, how you make it like more interesting. And I've seen like these
exactly.
Chinese influencers selling anything, like, and they are
Yeah.
so good at doing TikTok that they actually
Yeah,
get like,
that's
they
true.
actually get good leads from there. So it's never really about like, hey, this is boring. And I think young people should actually go deeper into things. I think they are now. Like, that's the best part. I could see like, when I was graduating, they were like, hey, I'm just going to go to Infosys or Cognizant. Now
Hmm.
nobody wants to go to these companies because they know like, hey,
Right.
there's nothing you can do there. Yeah.
Right.
So no
You can
offense
learn
to
more
those
in a
companies, but yeah.
yeah. Yeah, of course, of course. Like it's a startup conversations happening everywhere, and now robotics, so robotics for startups. So yeah, it's gonna be a great space to be in for
Mhm.
sure. And I'm so glad that you could share so much of your journey that people could get inspired by, even if they take a couple of tidbits about how to find your co-founders, how to stay in touch with them, how to follow the tinkerer in you, I guess, and how to
Yeah.
even make sure that you keep that up even when you have built the company and not let it go, I guess. So
Absolutely.
all of that is like a great I guess, a learning for someone who's wanting to start a robotics company right now, for sure. Uh, Great. I think there's so much more there to unlock, but then we'll come back to you soon again after you've deployed another hundreds of your robots more around the world, I guess. And if you would have more things to share about your journey, about what it takes more to build other kind of robots that might come over a couple of years later.
Mhm.
And yeah, I would love to even chat up with you in person as well. I think that will make the conversations go in another parallel direction. So yeah,
Mhm.
thank you so much for
Absolutely.
doing it
Yeah.
and have
Thank
a
you.
good day.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Bye bye.